Good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here, Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com, where we're now hitting, I don't have my numbers up, but we're hitting, 150,000 people, which is amazing. Having super fun, having a ton of fun. Bringing to you the people who are here to serve and to help us all to really live. I forgot to start all my stuff. There we go. Anyway, we're here to live this really amazing life and live it as big as we possibly can. There's so much confusion in the world when it comes to health and wellness and what's real, what's not real, what's truth, which seems to be an individual word these days, and I have a problem with that. But what's truth and what's not truth? What's health and what is not health? What's good and what's bad? All of these things can be really frustrating and confusing, and we're here to just do our best to bring to you all of the goodness, right? We want to bring to you health in so many ways, because health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, financial. It's all over the place, and those are the things that we want to talk about, and we want to bring to you the people who have a heart to serve and to give and just to love big. And so today we have Dr. Ashley Dwyer. Didn't turn down my music. Hold on. See? Every time. Hold on. Okay. Music's down. Okay. It literally happens every time that I do something technically wrong that kind of starts to mess things up. But that's okay, because that's what live is all about, I suppose. Anyway, I'm turning red. So Dr. Ashley Dwyer is, I'm super excited about this because she comes from the world of conventional medicine. And I think that is what excites me the most, because I love talking to people who have experience in both worlds. You found your place, but you still have that knowledge and that experience, which is really, really important, and I love that. So I want to thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to jump into this conversation.
I know, I'm so excited. Hello.
So as always, we start the show with gratitude. Gratitude can change the world. Gratitude can change your heart. Gratitude really can make things so good. And that's what we are about, is really just making things as good as we possibly can. So what are you grateful for?
Well, for what? The cheesy part, I'm grateful for being here and having this experience and connecting with you, right?
I'll take cheese all day long.
I love it. But I did make like a transformative reel post today about a client, and I'm just ultimately grateful to be in the position I am and get to do what I'm doing right now, like getting out of allopathic medicine and actually being able to help people change their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I really want to dig into that, because your story is not unique, but it's an amazing story when you open up to the possibilities of what's out there, especially when it comes to health and healing, and it really is beautiful. So I would, what am I grateful for? Well, for one, I just got back from a week long in the mountains, and that was amazing. It really was a time of disconnecting from the world, but connecting with family. We have it's our yearly fishing family reunion sort of week that we do in the mountains every year, and we hiked about 30 miles last week.
Holy cow, you got your steps in for sure.
Yeah, I got a few of them in, but it's amazing because so much of it is we go so deep in the mountains that we can let the dogs go and run and play and get in the river, and you don't have to really watch them. You have to watch for the deer, because then they don't stop. But it's
awesome.
It really was just beautiful, except I'm not a fan of lightning in the mountains, and we had 3 days in a row of lightning storms when we were going up the mountain, and I just was like, okay, this is enough. This is enough for me.
A little scary.
It is a little scary, but it's okay. I'm still here. So, God is good. I'm still here. And lightning is beautiful. I love it, but I want to be like either in my car or in my house and watch it that way, not in the middle of it. So anyway, I'm grateful for the time, and I will say the same thing. You know, it's always an amazing experience when you are in the experience of watching your clients balance and repair and feel amazing, because that's why we're here, right? Is we're to help them to do just that. And you know, we're the ones who are outside looking in. When you see the change and the difference that it all can make, it's just like, oh, this is amazing.
It's addicting.
It is.
Addicting.
Yes, that's a really great way of putting it. So, all right, let's just jump in. I want people to know a little bit about you, your history, you know, where you came from, what got you, you know, however much you want to tell us, because you have a great story, and I think a very relatable story.
I think, you know, I like how you said it's not unique, because it's not, right? It's not like something crazy personal happened. It was just how kind of the system failed you, and then you found a general purpose. So, I mean, I'm born and raised in South Florida, so in the, like, Fort Lauderdale, Boca area, like in that, I know they're a little farther apart, but in between. So born and raised in South Florida, I still live here now, and I went to school to be a pharmacist. I wanted to be in the healthcare industry. I wanted to help people. I didn't want to be a doctor, and kind of like the bodily fluids gross me out. Like, I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call, I didn't want to be in school until I was 30 at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so pharmacy was like a great career. They were doing signing bonuses at the time. It was really in demand. So I went to school to be a pharmacist, and in that 7 years that I was in school, probably my first year of pharmacy school, I discovered like bodybuilding competitions. So if anyone's familiar with NPC bodybuilding, not the healthiest, even though you look super lean and tiny and in shape, just not great for your body, but got really into health and fitness that way, fell in love with the gym, lifting weights, and realized I had a really big passion for dietetics. And I was like, I'm not going to drop out of pharmacy school. Like, we're going to finish this, and then we're going to work with patients that way. Then you get out of school, and it's not like that at all. Like, for general purposes, I worked in the retail setting, so like grocery stores and Walgreens and things like that. And there's no time, it's so stressful, it's corporate metrics, and the little bit of conversation that you do get to have with someone at the counter is minimal, like very minuscule. We're not doing lifestyle changes, right? Where, if anything, I call it handing out Band-Aids, because, you know, there is a place for medicine for sure, but a lot of the things that we hand out are preventable. Like, we don't need them, right? We don't need them sometimes. Or they're to manage side effects of other medications.
Right.
So, so in my time of being a pharmacist, I graduated at 25, so around 27, after years of doing the competitive bodybuilding type of thing too, I started to have my own health issues. And so, you know, I went in and got blood work, and holy cow, like, everything was off. My cortisol was super high, thyroid was low, sex hormones were perimenopausal, insulin was super high, glucose was very low. Like, it's no wonder I felt like absolute crap.
Yeah.
And so I went the Western medicine route first, and, you know, they started me immediately on thyroid meds, and started, you know, took me off of birth control. We started doing all these things, and it wasn't working, and I was going into the then extreme of hyperthyroid, just all these different things. And if you're going through that process of, you know, even as a hypothyroid, you're like losing your hair, it's super stressful.
Yeah, it creates more stress and then more cortisol, and it's just it's a nasty downward spiral.
It's awful. It's awful. And so I actually hired my own functional medicine doctors and went through a couple of different pathways, and really fell in love then with the lifestyle changes, and realized how I was living was what caused my body to go through this. Like, undereating completely, overtraining, barely sleeping, a stressful pharmacy job. I ran my body into the ground, basically. And so had I just corrected those lifestyle changes a little bit, I would have been in a completely different place and not on thyroid meds still to this day. Like, we're reducing the dose and I'm getting off of them, but it really made me see the core issue and how lifestyle changes make such an impact. And then fast forward, you know, some more years, And in 2018, I created this company, left pharmacy in 2020, and now just doing coaching full time, and I freaking love it.
Amazing. I think it's a really important point, though, that you made. There's so many people on thyroid meds, and I think that most of the time it's unnecessary. And what happens is once you're on them, especially over an extended period of time, sometimes you can't get off. Yeah. Yeah, and it's really frustrating. I'll tell you the story about my own mom, who the doctor told her, well, we're just going to put you on. She had full-on autoimmune thyroiditis, so Hashimoto's. And the doctor told her, food makes no difference. We're going to put you on medicine until your thyroid dies, and then we're going to take it out. Her endocrinologist told her this.
You know, I'm going to be honest, I've fired 2 endocrinologists, and they're still my least favorite doctors.
What is that?
Oh, it's just so narrow-minded that I'm like, I can't.
It's really frustrating. And, you know, I have people who come to me, they say, yeah, I'm hypothyroid. Okay, and so I've been on meds now for 10 years. Okay. Has there anything else that's been checked? You know, have you checked your antibodies? No, I don't think so. Have you looked at any of the other markers? No, I don't think so. Just TSH, I'm hypothyroid. And so at that point, you probably can't get off thyroid meds because you've been on them for too long. And it's just, the body is not lacking in Synthroid. Right? And I don't mean to go off, this is not a thyroid discussion, but it's rampant, whether it's thyroid or other, you know, system dysfunctions that we're like, okay, well, let's just put you on these meds and see what happens. And then you said there are then other meds to cover up the symptoms of those meds, literally cover up the symptoms of those meds, and it's another downward spiral. And are you getting better? Probably not. You know, you're not balancing the body by being on a bunch of meds.
No.
Mm-hmm. And to say, meds have their place, without a doubt, right? But they are too dependent upon, I think. Yeah.
100%. I mean, don't even get me started on antibiotics or anything.
Oh my gosh, no kidding. It's insanity. It's pure insanity. You know, I don't mean to take over the conversation, but we could just sit there and talk about this stuff forever. You know, I do my intakes with my clients, and they're, you know, I was on antibiotics for, you know, most of my childhood, and I'm like, well, no wonder your immune system sucks and your thyroid's, you know, inflamed, and your brain's inflamed, and your gut's inflamed, and So you were on a lot of antibiotics as a kid? Yeah.
I was a daycare kid, so
yeah. Oh, so frustrating. Okay, so we're now, so let's talk about your company and what you do and how you do it, because I love your concept and I love how you come at it from the fitness world. You know, I come at it almost strictly, I have fitness, I've worked out my entire life, but it's not my world necessarily. It's the nutrition, it's the functional piece, right? It's the labs and, you know, those kinds of things that I love. But I love you come much from the fitness side, the health coaching, and the nutrition side. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I try to purposely make the hybrid model. Because like you said, there is a health side, which is the labs and the micronutrients and the vegetables and the antioxidants and like all of that side, right? And then like trying to just be your healthiness, the healthiest you can be on the inside, no matter what your size, whatever. And then there's the fitness side that's purely almost aesthetic, like performance, aesthetic. We don't care what we do to our body as long as we have an 8-pack ripped abs and we're taking all these supplements that are killing our liver, right?
Yeah, right.
So there is a beauty between both of them, because you do need activity and working out and physical fitness hobbies, and strength training is amazing for so many things on the health side too, like insulin resistance and forgoing osteoporosis and all these things when you get older, having muscle mass. But we also really care about what we're putting into our body and what our hormones and metabolism look like as a whole, whereas this side really doesn't. This side, it's too much. Now we like bring it together. So that's what we focus on, is healthy from the inside out, because if you're not healthy on the inside, you're not going to see those results on the outside, or keep them, I should say.
Right, absolutely. And so a lot of this conversation is, I want to talk a lot about what you do and how you do it, but I also want to make sure that we talk about, or we bring to the table, the under-eating component, because I see that in my clients who are trying to lose weight. Right, they're busy, they're stressed, they're trying to lose weight, they're not eating, and they're coming to me going, why am I not losing weight? And I have to say, are you eating? So what your experience with under eating, what do you see? You know, because in the title we have, it affects health, it affects hormones. So what are you seeing?
So I think there's like a fine line too, and a differentiation between men and women, because I think you'll also see online a bunch of like starvation mode doesn't exist, right? And yes, that's true, because if you truly are in a calorie deficit and, you know, not eating anything, you will ultimately lose, right? Like that's just kind of how science is. But when you are eating even just a little, like we are giving our body fuel, but we're not giving it enough. So what I generally see is women who have just been dieting their whole lives. I was one of them, because that's what we're always told, like eat less, move more. This is how you lose weight. Afraid of gaining weight, so we're afraid to eat. We've also always been told that like men and women need different, like women don't really need the 2,000 calories. That's more of a men thing, or working out or bodybuilding, and protein is more for bodybuilders, etc. And it's not true. So what I generally see is a lot of women who are eating in the, I'm going to start at 800, because I've seen a lot of 700-800 calorie a day lately. 800 a day up to like 1,300 a day. I would even argue 1,400 sometimes is too low. And mind you, the 12 to 1,400 is like what a toddler needs per day, right? So women, full-grown women who are super busy and working out and doing all the things are eating this low. And what happens in the body is, it's so stressful to be in a like fight or flight famine response. Your body thinks that we are physiologically going through a famine, so it shuts off hunger cues, because being hungry while you're not getting enough food all the time is not good for your well-being. So it starts to shut off your hunger cues. It just sets off such a cortisol like cascade that then we start under-regulating our thyroid. We're down-regulating our sex hormones, because at this point, sex hormones are a luxury. If you can't keep yourself alive, your body's not going to make a baby. It's not going to keep that alive. So a lot of times we have women struggling with fertility who are not eating enough. And I'm like, okay, we have areas to work on, or they're not getting their cycles. And we're like, okay, this is why. So couple that stress, right? Like that's just one stressor on the body is under eating. But couple that with work, life, finances, working out all the time, not sleeping enough, everything else, and we have a perfect storm for your body's just conserving energy and storing body fat for a rainy day.
It's true, and I think what's interesting too that is that I think a lot of people don't understand. You know, everybody has heard of cortisol. You know, cortisol is the stress hormone, and if it stays elevated, it's the fight or flight. But I think what I want to make sure that people understand is that cortisol is important. We have to have it for specific reasons, right? It's that, you know, quick, you know, under fire, gotta go, gotta fight, gotta do whatever you have to do. And it is, at that point, it's anti-inflammatory, and it is an amazing hormone. But in our world today, where we're in constant fight or flight, we're in constant stress mode, we're in constant, you know, whatever is going on in our lives or work or whatever it might be, or we're eating unhealthy foods, right? Or we have trauma in our history. All of these things create excess cortisol, which then becomes inflammatory and catabolic. So we're trying to lose weight, we're stressed. Catabolic means it's breaking down muscle tissue, we're holding on to fat, and so it's the opposite of what we're looking for. You know, we don't want to break down muscle tissue, and the body's so stressed it's just going to sit and hold on to fat. So it's that interesting metabolic flip, you know, that can happen, I think, with cortisol, and understanding the importance of calming the body, calming the system, calming the nervous system, praying, meditating, walking in the grass, you know, all the things that help you, you know, mindful eating, don't run and eat, all of those things that can help to really calm the body. It's the data behind the meditation and all of these things that help bring the body to a calm place is amazing. In weight loss, in cognitive function, in I think any organ system function, and thyroid function, right?
Yeah.
It's insane, and everybody's stressed. Everybody's overly stressed.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you can say that again for sure.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you don't even notice that you're stressed because it's just the new normal, right? Like,
True.
it's kind of
Yes.
the normal.
Yeah, it's insanity. So one of the things that you do, so I know I talk a lot about, and I know you talk a lot about fad diets. And fad diets can be fine, right, depending on what it is. And some of them are not, they're the ones, so there's one that I hear all the time, and it's the Whole30, which I get it. I think I've never done it. But what I find is after the Whole30, people are like, what do I do now? And it very much creates this yo-yo up and down. Okay, I'm going to go back to the 30 days, and then I'm going to stop. Okay, I'm going to go back to the 30 days, and then I'm going to stop. Do you see that?
So I don't really get a lot of Whole30s. I'll be honest with you there, but
that's good.
We do get every other fad diet, and it's the same roller coaster.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Well, and it's a diet. We don't want to be. Living life on a diet sucks.
Yeah.
Or on multiple diets. Or go ahead.
I was going to say, they're just all super restrictive in some way, whether it's getting rid of complete foods, a food group, time restrictions, what have you. It's not sustainable for everyday life. It's sustainable for like a couple of weeks until you give up and then go back to your normal way.
Yeah, it's true. And so much of it, too, is dependent on who am I, who are you, is each person individually, and what does that person need. So people get really frustrated because there's, they see other people gaining muscle or losing weight or doing whatever it is that they're doing, and whatever that diet is, right, doesn't do the same for them. Like, what's wrong with me? Well, there's nothing wrong with you. It's that you're not them. And,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you do a lot of macros, right? You work with people in macros. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so macros, for those who aren't familiar, are basically like the building blocks of calories. So we primarily focus on proteins, carbs, and fats, and tracking those. So you do have to weigh and track out your food. It's a tool, it's not a diet, because you can use macros in Whole30 or in keto or in any of those situations, but it's just a really good way to measure intake and bring self-awareness to food choices and how much you're actually eating. So when we do get clients who are primarily under eating, the goal is to bring them up to a higher, either healthier deficit or back up to like their maintenance range where they're supposed to be eating. And the best way that we've found to do this is reverse dieting by using macros. So giving them scalable metrics to meet every day and increasing them slowly over a couple of weeks. So it's really helpful. It allows clients to like really get a sense of self-awareness of what foods equal what. And my favorite thing is like when clients come to me and they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much fat was in this, or carbs were in this, or, peanut butter is not a great source of protein, right? Like things like that. So, I understand it's not for everybody, but even spending 6 months tracking your intake will bring so much awareness to food and your eating habits.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been tracking my macros on and off for probably 1.5 years now. And I've always told my clients, I'm not a calorie counter, I'm not a tracker. I want you to learn and understand what good, healthy food is. And I think that that's really important. But in my own tracking and learning and understanding and watching my body and watching its changes, it truly is amazing the awareness that you have around food, that sometimes we don't have. People hate doing food journals and diet diaries and that kind of thing, and I totally get that. Thankfully, you know, there are apps and things that make it so easy now to quickly track what you're eating. I mean, it's not anything like what it used to be.
No.
No, not at all. And it's pretty simple and eye-opening, to say the least.
My argument is it's honestly the most efficient, right? If you're going to track your finances, you have everything down to dollars and cents. Like, tracking your energy intake is very efficient. And if you're not going to spend the time weighing and tracking or learning things at the moment right now, even though it is super efficient, then you are saying to yourself, like, you'd rather spend the time guessing and kind of like throwing things at the wall until something sticks, right? Like, why not just be super efficient for a little while?
Yeah.
And see what kind of results we can get. And with that, a lot of so I'm sure you do too, but we work with the general population, right? So a lot of times we're really shifting eating habits.
Yes.
And so going with macros allows that flexibility still, where we don't have to cut out all favorite foods or like get rid of sweets and chocolate. Like, we can eat mindfully, have like a glass of wine and still like live your life. So that promotes adherence, having that flexibility, which I think most want, right? We all want that.
Yeah, people have a really hard time giving up wine.
I know.
I mean, I'm one of them, you know.
So, I get it. I can't do it anymore. I wake up worse than I ever did before.
Too fuzzy. I know. Same. I can have two glasses of wine at this point, and the next day it's just not good. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And it's age. It just happens in its age, and it's part of it. We don't need it anyway. It's always, I find it interesting when people tell us that alcohol or that wine is healthy. I'm like, it's not really.
It's the resveratrol, Nikki.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's funny.
No.
So one of the things you had written about in one of your blogs was the healthy proteins and the healthy foods, the foods that's out there in the world that they say it's loaded with protein, it's packed with protein, so it's healthy for you. When it comes to teaching people, I mean, I know what I do, but when you're teaching people how to eat real food and to get away, and that's the hard thing, is getting away from the quick, fast foods. Do you have tips and tricks and things that you tell people to get away from those foods? Because, people travel, right? People are out in the world, and thankfully, and they are, driving or flying or going, and they're like, I don't have the time to eat healthy. I just need to be able to grab and go. What do you say?
So obviously it's going to be dependent on where you are. Sometimes we're really strapped, right?
Yeah.
But I think the best thing that you can do, and that's kind of where the macros comes in, is we focus our meals first on protein. So we want you making your meal around getting in enough protein. And we go for like 25 to 30 grams per meal. So if you are out and about, the first thing that we maybe gravitate towards is fast food or something like that. Where a lot of it isn't always super protein dense, or it's fried, so we'll make an emphasis on grilled things, even if you have to stop at Chick-fil-A and you can get a grilled chicken sandwich versus a fried, little changes like that. We have tons of resources for our clients for like easy snacks and grocery store stuff, but focusing on protein, focusing on having veggies at every meal, whether that's or fruit, so side salad, side fruit type of thing. They send us menus too, so we help them pick while they're there.
Yeah.
But for example, I had a client the other day who sent me, she had to order breakfast for this work meeting, and their breakfast options were not good.
Yeah.
She's Hashimoto's, so she's gluten-free and dairy-free and things like that too. And so the best thing on that menu for her, and I even asked her, what do you think first? Like, what's your go-to? And she immediately went for something with eggs. So we had protein, right? And then it was, what's my least worst option there? And so it was like a sandwich was the best, but it was like eggs, bacon, on 3 different types of bread. So we went with sourdough, because again, still gluten, but still better in that regard. And skip the cheese, and it is what it is. We had some fats, we had some eggs, or some protein, some fats, and we have our carb source, but in that moment, that was the best she could do, and that was the best we could do. And you fixed it with the other choices of the day.
Right. I totally agree, and I think that people tend to beat themselves up a lot when when they're like, I'm not making the right choices. Okay, well, let's start over again, and let's do the best that we can do. And again, it's the goal of being educated and knowing when you're not making the best decisions, or knowing when you're doing the best that you can with the situation that you have, and just having the knowledge, because so many of us just don't even have the knowledge. People are so confused about food and what's good and what's not good, and the marketing is amazing at confusing the hell out of everybody.
I was gonna say, it's not even their fault. It's just like the media, the marketing, the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would be confused too if I wasn't in the industry, right?
Right. Well, I know that was one of the reasons I've been studying nutrition since I got out of grad school. I mean, I didn't go to school to college for it. I went to school for it, but after grad school, I just started to fall in love with it. It was like, this is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do, so I can help people who do their things. It's like, I don't do bookkeeping because I hate it and it sucks. Yeah. And I'm going to have somebody do it for me because they love it and they love the numbers and they love to have, to do all of the stuff. Then I'm like, I don't want to do it. And so, that's why we have our experts and our expertise, because we love to nerd out on it. Love to kind of dig into the science. And, I'm going to a conference next week, and so I'm super excited about the conference next week because you get to nerd out and you get to have fun. But that's what we love. And but that's also why people come to us, because we guide so they don't have to do the research, or as much research, right? And learn their own bodies is the key.
And I think that's part of what great investments are anyway too, and investing in yourself is hiring someone to teach you something in this much time instead of this much time. Like, my whole career has taken years, right? Years of knowledge just built up on each other, and someone can get that in 6 months working with me.
Right. Yeah, it's true. And it is an investment, and it is amazing. Again, I'm going back to what I had said earlier. When people finally commit, not finally, but when people commit, because it's not always easy to commit, right? It can be hard. But when there is that commitment, even at a smaller level, you start to see change, and you start to see forward movement and momentum, which brings on more commitment and brings on more excitement, and then you feel better. And it just is this amazing, these constant aha moments and light bulbs for people that is just really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I actually wrote about that the other day, with how, someone who's been living that type of lifestyle thinks that is how you're normally supposed to feel, like bloating or reflux or just symptoms that happen because we're aging, right? And it's not, it's just your lifestyle. So when we change that and they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how I was supposed to feel, that's awesome. Like, that makes it worth it.
Yeah, I think that there's a big misconception about about aging. I think about aging. So often we blame our pains and aches and frustrations and bloating on age or genetics or bad luck, when really, and this is what I talk about all the time, is we have control over our own genetic destiny. We have control over what we put into our mouths. We have control over what we put on our skin and in our laundry and in our yard. And we have so much control over the outcome of our health. It's truly amazing. And a little bit of a shameless plug is I'm working on a preconception course. It's called Soulful Conception, and it is all about creating a healthy body so we can create a healthy baby, then so we can create a healthy future. Because our health today impacts 7 generations ahead of us. So if I'm as healthy as I can possibly be today, and I decide, okay, now I'm healthy, I'm going to get pregnant, that impacts the health of that child and impacts generations to come. It's the most beautiful, awe-inspiring. It's amazing, right? And I get so excited about it, but so much of us don't. I feel like we don't understand the impact that we have on our future. Each person can create a healthier future. I just think it's the coolest thing.
No, I do too, and I totally understand the struggle though, because
Mhm.
you know, you're faced with a fast food place on every corner.
Yeah.
You're faced with more convenient processed items. You're faced with so much like misinformation
Yes.
on products and on things that you need to do, and it just becomes extremely overwhelming. Food, you know, socioeconomic things with eating and prices of healthy foods versus non-healthy foods. Like, I get it, but
Yeah.
there definitely are smaller steps that we can do, and I think you and I both probably do that in our practices and help people in that way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And there, it never is smart when somebody is starting, you know, kind of from ground zero, right? To try to take huge, massive steps, because you know,
Right.
success is always the key. You know, I want my clients to be successful, because when they're successful, I'm successful. And so it goes back to that, you know, working with someone as an individual, you know, their mental and their emotional health, as well as, you know, getting them to the physical health that they want to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, too much at one time is never a good thing. It's because it can be
overwhelming.
It is. It is. And I know for myself, you know, I always have work to do and I'm always learning, but I've been working on this in myself and understanding my body for, you know, 25 plus years now. And so again, though, it goes back to my education, though, can help others. You know, my education, my personal education, and you know, my higher, I guess, education.
Yeah, and experience and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to take a quick break and talk about our sponsor, who I love. Do you know Cellcore? Do you use Cellcore products at all? So
I know them. I don't
yeah,
need them.
yeah. So Cellcore Biosciences are a super innovative company. They are innovative in the way that they deliver the delivery system of the nutrients, and the goal to get to the foundation of health. So it works at a cellular level, works at the mitochondrial level, which impacts our genetics and our epigenetics and our health today and our health in the future. And often, you know, supplements also, just like drugs, can cover up. You know, we can take supplements that reduce inflammation, but if we're not getting to the root cause of what's creating that inflammation, we're still just taking a supplement to cover up the inflammation or to reduce the inflammation that will probably come back once we stop taking the supplement. So the goal is to always understand the root cause, get to the foundation of health, and know how to rebalance and repair the body so it's functioning better on its own. The goal of health is not to be taking supplements for your entire life, right? But there are often times where we need therapeutic supplementation to get us out of, you know, maybe we're in a hole. I work with a lot of people. I've been in a hole myself, and sometimes it takes those that kind of therapies to get the body boosted up, support, like I said, support the mitochondria, cellular health, get rid of the microbes that aren't supposed to be there, and so forth. Cellcore is a great company. You have to get them through practitioners, but you can go to their website. They have a lot of great information regarding their products and their delivery system, and I just appreciate all that they do. So anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I don't, because I didn't tell you I wanted to ask this question, so my goal is not to be, you know, to dig into your personal stuff. But you, in your, I think it was in one of your blogs, you talked about some trauma you had experienced, and the trauma leading then to PTSD and anxiety. And it's one of those things that goes back to the epigenetics piece of it, because when we experience trauma in life, it often can turn on these epigenetic switches that can create junk. It can create anxiety. It can create chronic conditions. It can create pain. You know, whatever the case may be, it has the ability to affect us. And so I deal unintentionally, because there's so much trauma in the world, with a lot of people who come to me. I'm dealing I mean, I don't deal with the trauma because I can't, but I'm dealing with their experience because it's part of their experience, right? So I would love to hear you talk a little bit, as much about that as you want, and how you have found your way in dealing with the anxiety and the stress of your history, because I think it can be really helpful for people who are struggling with some of the same things.
So yeah, I'm like an open book anyway. I think the trauma thing, so I'm like trying to remember which post, but the trauma thing goes twofold. So obviously when we think of trauma, we think of like childhood trauma and we think of relationship issues, and we definitely have those too, but for the purpose of this conversation. And I think the situation that I went through and where it's interesting because it really relates to food and health, and this is where like I developed health anxiety, was I was working as a pharmacist. I had a reaction to tuna. So what would happen was I had like a dinner that I brought with me. It's super busy at the pharmacy. I ate it like really quick. It was like a tuna steak with brown rice and whatever. I heated it up, and within 10 minutes I was bright red, sweating. My techs were asking me what was wrong with me. I had no idea what was going on. I was like hard to breathe, and I was like, am I having an allergic reaction in the pharmacy right now? Like, do I need to stab myself with the EpiPen they give us for clients, for patients? And so, long story short, I ended up getting like taken out of the Walgreens on a stretcher. Yeah, they had to close the pharmacy. First time ever, like riding in an ambulance, going to the hospital that way. I thought that I was dying from tuna. Like 1 minute I was fine, and the next minute I wasn't. Come to find out, it's something called stomatoid poisoning. So if the tuna isn't like bled efficiently or kept on ice, and it's not like a quality piece, I guess, it builds up histidine, which then is released into you as histamine, right, when you have it. Cooking it doesn't help. So it kind of, once I experienced that effect lasted for years. And that was right before my 26th birthday. I became paranoid of foods I eat all the time because I thought that was going to happen to me. Like, I would literally eat one brand of almond butter because I knew it was safe. I went through many years of therapy. It was almost an eating disorder at that point. Even though I was eating, I was just afraid to eat every time. And even to this day, I will not take anything new, supplements included, without having someone with me, or I'm on the phone with someone. So I'm still very much affected by it. If I do feel like a twinge in my throat or something's uncomfortable, it will immediately set me into a panic attack. There was like a whole period of probably 6 months to a year. If I heard an ambulance, I would have like almost a mini panic attack. Those were fun times. But it had to do with food and eating, and so that's kind of what I do now in my life, and I eat all the time. It's like my favorite thing to do. And when you're afraid of food or afraid of reactions, or just you get like a headache and you're like, oh my god, I have a brain tumor, I'm dying. Health anxiety is a whole new level. I will be open and share that like years ago I did try medications for it, hated them, did not agree with them, do not want to do the med route at this point. Like, I'm not on anything for anxiety or depression or anything like that. I go to a therapist regularly, and I did ingestion challenges back then for things that, I did the skin prick test and it came back that I was allergic to like 12 things. Like, I avoided a carrot for 6 months because it popped up on the thing. I'm not kidding you. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we've mostly passed all of that, but I will never touch fish. Like, I only eat salmon.
Interesting.
So, no thing. Yeah.
It's interesting the relationship that we end up, that is created with food for us. I have so many things in what you're saying, because I have a lot of clients who do, when it comes to supplements, they'll do the same thing. I'm letting somebody know that I'm trying this new supplement, or there's so much fear around food. And even if it wasn't that traumatic, the fear that anything that I eat is going to make me gain weight, anything that I eat is going to hurt my stomach, anything that I eat is going to give me a headache, or anything that I eat is going to make my throat swell, or it's so hard to live a life. Well, it's living a life in fear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And we see it so often, and it just spirals into this really sad relationship with food, which is the most basic, beautiful, one of the most basic, beautiful things that we've been given. Like you said, food is fun. It's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely I will say, the being afraid of having a reaction to something versus being afraid of gaining weight, because we deal with that all the time. Like when we have someone who comes in under eating, like we're giving you more food and we have to deal with that fear of gaining weight and that all or nothing mental block. But being afraid of something you have to do to live.
Yes.
I will say it was really dark times
it's a different
back
level.
Several years ago, but you kind of just desensitize it, and it got to a point where I was like, I would rather something happen to me than live the way that I'm living. So forget it. Like, I'm eating the carrot, right? That was so silly. But it's true.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Not funny, but the psychology behind it, is so interesting. So I want to make sure that we talk a bit about, I want to talk about your practice, and I want to talk about, because you have other coaches who work with you, and I want to make sure people know how to find you, where to find you, all of the important things.
Yeah, for sure. So we are a team. So we're Team BDN Coaching. You can find us at teambdncoaching.com or on Instagram at Team BDN Coaching. I'm on Instagram at dr.dwyer, always on there, always posting stuff. Message me, bother me, it's fine. I love messages. So how it works is we have clients fill out an application to work with us. We then set up, I can't speak anymore, set up consultation calls to, do all the intake form. We actually don't do sales calls. I don't love sales, to be honest. Like, I want someone who comes in, knows what they're gonna get. We go over their roadmap and they're like, yes, this is what I want, sign me up.
Agreed.
I've seen your results, I want it. So we do that, we do an intake call, we get everyone onboarded, and then we start with our process. So there are 3 coaches right now, myself included. I actually don't take on that many clients anymore. I'm not taking on any at this moment. They're all going to my assistant coaches who are very well certified as well. Like, I like to say, if I'm type A and like to have control over my team and my babies, my clients, and I trust these women with them, you're in good hands. And they bring to the table things that I can't, like certified personal training or certifications and other things. So we really balance each other out and make a great team effort. But we do packages of like 3, 6, and 12 months, nutrition only, nutrition and fitness. And like I said, it's not even about the macros sometimes or the fitness plan. What we really work through is a lot of mindset change. We have a mental health coach that we do bi-weekly Zoom calls with for everybody so that we get that element in it too. So it's really just a transformative plan. It's not cookie cutter. It's not going to be something you can't show up and just get a meal plan and leave. We don't do meal plans. I don't like them.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Yeah, so it's going to require effort, but if you let it, it will be the most transformative process you've probably been through with your health. Very excited for it.
Excuse me. So what does BDN stand for?
So funny enough, when I first started my company, I was only working with brides and grooms and people for big days. So it was called the Big Day Nutrition, because when you're 27, 28, all of your girlfriends are getting married at one time.
Yes.
So I was helping all of them lose weight for their weddings. And so I started a company in that manner. And then I really shifted to wanting to just help women with these kind of like hormonal lifestyle indications. So we kept the BDN and just turned it into Team BDN, because that's what we called ourselves anyway for short.
Yeah, I love that. So do you do any kind of functional lab testing?
So we look at labs if clients have them. We tell them what to order if they want to order from their doctor, because I'd rather them go through their insurance and their doctor first.
Sure.
If their doctor says no, which we've come across a lot.
Yes, I know.
I do have the ability to order through like a Vibrant America situation where I'm a practitioner there, or we do like life extension panels sometimes. Those can be super helpful. So yeah, we do look at blood work and go through all of that.
Okay, cool. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I wanted to get back to the diet stuff because I skipped over it and I didn't mean to, but I think I just tend to be all over the place anyway. But specifically for women, when it comes to, I do believe there are therapeutic diets. I think the vegan diet is a therapeutic diet, right? I think that keto is therapeutic. It's not for everybody, but I think that it can be necessary for some people for a period of time, right? Do you agree with that?
I think diabetics or epileptics and people, for even a short time, if you have severe insulin resistance, sure, it works out good.
Yeah, yeah. Curious though, your thoughts on, I think there's such a difference, and we hit on this a little bit, between men and women. And that's something that, you hit on the 2,000 calories for women. And so much of our science comes from tests on men and studies on men and not on women, what women need. And so when we talk about keto or we talk about intermittent fasting or we talk about these things, and then women do them and don't do well with them, and men are like, I'm great, I'm lean and I lost weight, and women are like, what is happening?
Men give up like diet soda and lose 10 pounds in a week, and women like gain a pound.
It's true. So curious if you have any thoughts or any experience with women, the differences between men and women, because I think women need to hear this. Women need to understand that we are not men. I know that's a shock, but we're not men, and we don't work the same. Our bodies don't work the same, and I'm just curious if you have anything that you want to add to that, because I know how frustrated women get because it can be so difficult for us to lose weight, especially as we age.
Yeah. I think so. The differences, and the big one at that, is that, and it's such a shocker to me too. I'll get to that in a second. But men have like stable testosterone levels over 24 hours, right? Like every 24 hours, it's kind of the same. So they have better, it's almost like a stress resiliency. Like their hormones aren't super affected by their lifestyle and their choices as much as women are. Like, yes, if you have a terrible lifestyle, your testosterone can tank and you'll feel like crap as a man. But women have this like switching cascade of hormones over 28 days or however long your cycles are, which is why we may also have different personalities every week of the month, right?
Yeah.
And I'm finding, what I was going to say is, what surprises me is how many women don't know how the cycle works, like your monthly cycle and the hormones and what phases we're in. So we try and teach our clients that, and that's a question on our check-ins, is like, what phase of your cycle are you in right now? Like, what's happening during luteal and follicular and all of that. So that is where we see the greatest pushback with some of these diets, is because our hormones are not the same. And so intermittent fasting, majority is tested on men, and that's why it's like deemed successful. And then women try and do the 16/8 fasting window, and it's way too much stress on their bodies that it does not work, A, and then B, a long period without any blood sugar, or like you're having hypoglycemic episodes, our sugar sensitivity is off, which also affects our hormones. It's not a good time. So women actually don't benefit as much from intermittent fasting as you would think, and that's why we get really disappointed when we try those diets and they don't work. In the same breath, men also tend to have more muscle tissue, which really helps in your goals and your metabolism. And women are still under this impression that lifting weights will make you bulky, so we kind of get afraid of it. Or we'll do like HIIT classes and group classes, which really don't focus on building lean muscle. It's more about the calorie burn. Trust me, I try and get bulky, and I'm having the hardest time. So literally can't get bulky.
It's hard,
we don't have enough testosterone. You can't. But those are really big, just two little generalizations that we see in the different sexes, where we really can't compare. It's not fair.
It's not. So we can't compare ourselves to the other sex, the opposite sex, and we can't compare ourselves to other people, period, because we are all different and unique. And I think it's important to keep that in mind as you are, moving through your life, moving through your journey, and searching for practitioners to give you guidance in the areas that you need. Somebody who's going to work with you as you and not as everybody else. We're not a one size fits all. So keep that in mind. We have another radio show host who comes on after me, so I have to shut down just a little bit early. But wanted to thank you so much for all of your knowledge, your insight, helping people to understand that they are individuals. And for anybody, so you do work online or virtually, correct?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Remote.
So
Yep.
everybody does now. I know. So do we. So it is. But it's a good thing. Having good people with good reach and being able to reach people who really need people like you is an amazing thing. So I'm grateful for you. Thank you that you came on. We should have you on again if you like, if you have some time. Did you give your website?
I did. teambdncoaching.com.
Perfect. All right. And I am tastelifenutrition.com. You can find me, Taste Life Nutrition, everywhere. So Nikki Burnett, I'm a functional nutritionist. You can go to my website and fill out an assessment that will lead you directly to me, and we'll chat a little bit about it and see what we can do to give you some guidance and help you in your journey. And I think that's what we've got. I am at a conference next week, so not here. We'll have another amazing rerun. But I'm super grateful for all of you and super grateful for all of you. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.